In high school, a group of friends and I purchased a Ouija board to play with. We decided my house was the best, so the 5 of us sat around the board in my bedroom one Friday night and began to play. The board we got also was glow in the dark, adding to the spookiness. The first time was uneventful. The only entity we contacted saying its name was no one. The second time playing was more memorable and terrifying. It was only my close friend and I in my room playing in the dark, music playing softly on my stereo. We asked the basic questions and soon noticed our breath was visible. We were freezing. Now my house was in the woods and my room was notoriously cold during winter, so I turned my space heater on and we continued. No one appeared again. Still, our breath hung in the air despite the heater going full blast. The radio began to jump stations and the volume raised and lowered. Loud static filled the room, so I shut it off. The stereo jumped back on, lights flashing and country music blaring even though we hadn't been listening to country. Unnerved, but also excited, my friend and I laughed, asking no one more questions. Feverishly, the plaque flew across the board sometimes right out of our hands. Besides predicting some minor events, we laughed off the encounter and the Ouija board was put in my closet for safekeeping. The nuance had worn off, or at least not one wanted to play the board anymore. Some had bad dreams or just bad feelings. Meanwhile, I felt a dark presence following me almost like an eerie shadow. I could feel, but not see. One night while in bed, the doors of my closet burst open. The radio blared on and my lights flickered. And this happened a few more times on various nights before my paranoia got the better of me, and I began to look up how to dispose of a Ouija board. Obviously, we had released something sinister. I learned burning it was a bad idea, so my next option was burial in my parents' woods. So one rainy afternoon, when nobody was home, I took the board and shovel and hiked deep into the forest behind my house. I dug a hole the best I could and buried the board deep in the mud. I had terrible nightmares for weeks that I would come home from school to find the muddy board on my bed, but no such thing happened. My closet would still burst open, and the radio turn on randomly, and my room stayed freezing cold most of the year. For years, I felt haunted and followed by something dark. It was subsided over the years, but I still have encounters. TVs turn on, or my things go missing, then suddenly appear. The encounters feel much less sinister than before, so I think whatever, or whoever no one was, it wasn't good. I think the board opened me up to the encounters, but only the first felt dark, or dare I say, evil. I have found as long as I tell them I know they're there, the events stop. I'm not sure what I encountered, or if it still follows me now. When I was about 4 years old, I had a bunk bed in my room. I was not allowed to sleep on the top bunk in case I fell off and got hurt at night. However, I was permitted to play up there during the day. I remember climbing up the ladder and being picked up and set on the ground. It felt like a woman's hands, smaller and gentle. I lived with my father, and he was the only one in the house. No one was in the room with me, and I had no explanation as to what had happened. As I got older, other odd things would happen. Toys would disappear, then reappear onto my bed, but my father swore he never moved them. As I'd sleep occasionally, I'd feel a hand on my neck or back. Nothing malicious, just a small woman's hand caressing me. It felt distinctly cold. While I wasn't afraid of whatever was doing it, I was too scared to turn around and look. Things continued to go missing and reappear. Jewelry, makeup, earbuds, etc. Except now, they'd be placed into weird spots of the house. In the washing machine, in the fridge, on top of my car. My father didn't move these things, and neither did I. So I kept assuming it was the ghost or spirit. In the past year, things started to get a little more odd. I'd be sitting on the couch doing my homework, and everything on the table would fall onto the ground, almost as if someone shoved it. My father is a witness to this as well. Boxes would just empty themselves without being touched, glasses would fly off the counter and shatter, and things started disappearing and not being returned. My father had a coin necklace he was given by his grandmother. He wore it every day and kept it on his bedside table at night. One morning, it was gone. He looked everywhere and knew he hadn't misplaced it since he always put it in the same spot. At night when I was alone, I would hear doors slam around the house. It's an old house and it requires a good shove to open the doors. And the TV would turn on and off out of nowhere and at full volume. I'm starting to fear whatever presence we have in the home. It's not friendly and gentle anymore. It's getting violent, and I'm not exactly sure what to do. I thought about the possibility of this spirit trying to get in contact or possibly just wanting attention, hence why it is now acting out. It's not getting attention. Not much really happened the past week until tonight. I was cleaning up after dinner and washing dishes when I heard someone call my name softly. I turned around thinking maybe my dad had come home. His car wasn't in the driveway, and no one was there. So I went back to doing my dishes. It repeated itself 3 more times, in a distinctly female voice. The spirit previously had a feminine feel to her, small hands that were gentle when they touched me. I don't know what her intent is or what she wants, but it's freaking me out that I am not hearing her speak. I had a dream recently of a small old woman with wavy gray hair cut into a bob. She stood behind me in an empty hospital room and called out my name saying, "We have the same name, you know." I finally began to put pieces together and figure out what the spirit was in my home. My grandmother had 3 siblings who passed away before she was born. The 3rd child to die was Marie, who had contracted croup at age 4 or 5. Croup is an infection of the airways, usually resulting in coughing and difficulty breathing. I got out my Ouija board and began asking questions, mostly in regard to her shenanigans around my house. May I speak to the ghost in my room? Yes. What is your name? Marie. Are you upset with me? No. Why do you keep hiding my makeup? No. Pretty? No. Maybe this is her sign to wear less makeup. I don't know. Can you please stop throwing my groceries on the floor? It makes a mess and damages the fruit. Yes. Is there anything I can do to make you happier? Yes. What would you like me to do? Flowers. What kind? Red wild. I kept getting this image of red wildflowers in the woods by my home. They're called scarlet calamines, and I make them into tea when I get a cold. They help ease respiratory illness and coughs. Kind of interesting that that's what she requested, since it was a cough that killed her. I look forward to trying to get to know her more. I was looking for answers for what I may have encountered a few years ago. 2019, I lived in an old house in a historically working-class neighborhood outside of Baltimore. My friend had lived there a year before while going to college, and his lease was up, so I had moved in as it was a cheap option with a few friends. I spent a lot of time alone in this house. I did not believe in ghosts. I heard creaking that sounded like footsteps from the basement. A lot, but wrote it off as the house settling. Things would randomly fall off the pantry, but I had just assumed that they were misplaced there. The first night we were there, the basement flooded and became a huge pain. One night, I had went to bed and had woke up in the middle of the night and saw a shadow figure whose body was defined, but his facial features were not, standing at the foot of my bed staring at me. I assumed I was in a dream and opened my eyes wider, but realized I was awake. I rolled over and looked back and still saw it. I did not have any feelings of fear or panic during this time. This occurred one other time. The basement looked creepy. Coming from a small closet consistently smelt of natural gas. The curtains would always fall down from the windows. If you walked in from the back of the house, you would feel as if something was looking over you and following you. Almost as if something was chasing you out. One of my friends later visited me. He claimed that he was sensitive to ghosts. I never really did believe him. He could hear footsteps under us in the basement. He asked if the ghost could show us a sign. The most activated floodlight from another house turned on and turned off when he asked it to. I reached out to my friend who had previously lived there to ask if he had experienced anything paranormal. I had not explained to him what I saw, just that question. He said that in the same room I was in, his roommate woke up to a figure standing over him. Someone who had crashed in the living room also saw it once. He lived in the basement and complained of his things moving or randomly breaking. Over the course of my roommate living there, he became increasingly irritable, which was unlike him as I had known him my entire life. We were all happy when the lease ended, looking for answers on what I may have encountered. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Perhaps click the bell for notifications, and remember, hell is empty, and the devils are here.